I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call to quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve. Shield my greed. That's how I get it. Success ain't no giving. Some days I don't eat, I don't sleep. When I'm focused on dangerous, they don't wonder when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank. I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze. The roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag. I know this because I've been in it. I don't need to brag. I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. But some family, you do the math. I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem, man. Perfect, let them watch me elevating. Got them nauseous cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit. Nose diving in the house and whoo. Watch out, get ahead, watch out, get ahead, watch out, get ahead.
It's time! Welcome to DFS by the Numbers with your host, Brady.
Better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers and welcome to Best Bet for UFC 282. I am here with Patrick. Patrick, what is up? You looking forward to this 12-fight card?
Dude, I'm so excited for this one. I know this fight card has been chopped up to pieces with some canceled fights, but hey, we still got a light heavyweight title on the line. Got a lot of good fights. Paddy the Batty is in the co-main event, so what's not to like about this one?
Yes, sir. Should be a good one. So we're gonna get into it. It should be about an hour. I got to head out. I'm taking about an hour and a half trip to a friend's house. I'll be heading out of here about 5 Eastern. But yeah, thank you all for hanging out. I do want to shout out the chat real quick before we get into it. We got Propaholic, first one in the building. What is up? We got Zach. We got Georgie. We got Cole. We got Bill. We got Dickens. We got Steiny in here as well. We got Nick. We got Zayed, Paul, Dan, Hua, and Jaden. Thank you all for hanging out. Please leave a like, subscribe. Also, go check out Patrick. We will plug him a lot towards the end as well. But yeah, looking forward to it, man. A great card. It has taken some hits, though. I mean, I was really looking forward to the Salvador de Silva fight. I was looking forward to Robbie Lawler. Bo Nickel was supposed to be on this card.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all about Bo Nickel. Yeah. That was a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking about going to the card because it looked so stacked, like 2 months out. You know, we had the Yuri fight, but it's taken some hits, but I still think it's a solid card.
It is. But UFC Orlando, yeah, I mean, we're kind of spoiled with that fight night last week, you know, but hey, this is still a good fight card. Got some bangers.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can find some spots, man. All right, we'll start with the first fight on the card. We have Cameron Simon going against Steven Kaza. We'll start with you, Patrick. What are you liking for the first fight of the night? Anything?
You know, this card is very money line heavy for me. I don't have a whole lot of props, but I do have a prop to start off this one. 0.1 unit, a whopping 1/10 of a unit on this one. On Steven Kaza by submission round one. I mean, the guy has won all 6 of his pro fights so far by that method. There's no way that you should be getting more than plus 1,000 on one guy's only method, only proven way to win a fight. Round one submission at plus 1,200 for Kozlo. Just basing it off of the history. Neither of these guys have faced too much resistance so far. I do as a prediction like Simon to win this fight, but no way am I getting near that minus 300 price tag on him, although I think he's the more well-rounded kid here.
Yeah, I think that's a good sprinkle. It's something I definitely considered. 6 fights, all 6 of them first round submission.
There's no way you should be getting that high of odds for the only proven way so far.
Yeah, I feel like that's literally his win condition. For me, I guess I'm taking the safer route out. I'm going to go with the fight doesn't go to decision around minus 220 here. I just think, both guys have paths to finish here, whether it's Kaza, like you mentioned, with the first round submission upside. He is coming here on short notice as well. And then Simon on the feet, it may not look like it, but the guy's a killer. The guy hits very, very hard with a striker versus grappler matchup. So I do like the violence aspect of things. I'm kind of with you. I think that Simon probably ends up knocking this guy out at some point in the fight, but man, especially at that price tag, plus 1,200, plus 1,300 for Kozlo to win by first round submission, there's going to be opportunities. There's going to absolutely be opportunities if Kozlo gets this guy down. Kozlo's a 10th planet guy. So yeah, I don't mind that sprinkle, but for me, I'm taking this kind of the safe route. I'm hoping somebody gets a finish in this fight.
Yeah, I saw Bovada Sportsbook actually had the alternate over-under set at under 2.5 at minus 190. So that kind of goes in line with where you got the price. That fight doesn't go. And we saw that Cameron Simon has that power that translates late in the fight. Round 3, he slept Josh Wayne Kim on the Contender Series. So I could see the fight going that way more times than not.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like it, but the guy he hits very, very hard. So
yeah, you see the baby face picture of him on Tapology. You wouldn't expect him to have that kind of lights out power, but he's got it at bantamweight.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dan is on the round one sub as well. Yeah, that would be a big hit, and I think it's there's gonna be opportunities for sure. But let's move on to the next fight here. It was supposed to be the Silva Salvador fight, but we have Eric Silva going against TJ Brown, and this is a tough fight because Eric Silva is a guy that I'm watching him and he looks really good. He has a lot of power, great ground and pound, had a very nice win on the Contender Series, really good submission game as well. He's looking good, but he just hasn't fought anybody. Whereas TJ Brown, this guy disappoints me fight after fight after fight. And he's like 6 fights in, and I've bet on a lot of his fights. And every time I'm betting on his fights, whether I'm winning that bet or I'm losing that bet, it's a terrible experience. Like I cashed a bet on him against Kai Kamaka. It was a terrible experience. I mean, I thought he lost the fight. So I'm not betting on this fight personally. I'm staying far, far away from it. If I was to place a bet on this fight, though, honestly, I'd be looking violence again just due to the fact that Eric Silva has not been out of the first round. It's been like 5 or 6 years. I think he's going to get after it early. Brown's been finished 6 times, 3 by knockout, 3 by sub. So I can see Eric Silva potentially finishing Brown early. But if not, what does Eric Silva look like in that second and third round, right? We haven't seen him in the second or third round in literally years. So again, another spot where I look towards violence, but a fight I just can't bet. I can't bet on TJ Brown fights without there being a hole in my TV by the end of the night. So I'm not betting on this fight. I'm curious to hear, are you betting on this fight, and what are you liking on it?
I'm ready to have one of those horrible TJ Brown experiences. He is my first money line of the night. I am betting on him here. I know he's 2-3 in the UFC, but he has some of those intangibles that I like in a fighter. Proven grit, even though he has not been the most durable. He's got the wrestling early. He's got very good tight technical boxing early. And that's really what I want, is I want somebody to start early. Now, TJ Brown sometimes does fall apart against better wrestlers, better strikers, but that's later on down the stretch past where I've seen Eric Silva actually perform before, right? He hasn't been into a decision in like 3 or 4 years. And the guy's a 35-year-old prospect off the Contender Series. I like what I see from him, but I mean, TJ Brown is a guy who puts up a fight early on in the fight before he ends up doing something dumb, playing jiu-jitsu off his back, giving up, some positions on the mat. But that's later in the fight. I'm not sure Eric Silva can make it there. So I'm banking on the guy who's got 5 more UFC fights and some proven experience going late for even money. I mean, that's not a bad play for me. I'm not heavily invested in it, but it was the first money line.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. It's just, for me personally, it hurts. It hurts betting on TJ Brown.
It does, yeah. But just like all of everything in my mind that says the more experienced guy here, the guy who's been there before, and somehow the younger man, versus usually these Contender Series guys are like 23 to 25, right? We're seeing an 18-year-old later on the card from the Contender Series. This guy's 35 years old and still 9-1 as a pro. So I don't know. I don't know what their plan is with this guy.
I don't know. It should be a fun fight, but I'm gonna sit back and watch. I'll root for you. I'll root for TJ Brown here, but yeah, I will not have money on this fight myself.
I like the violence. I like what you said about fight not going, for sure.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Silva's been finishing his only loss by sub. Brown's a very good grappler. I can see violence. That was something I kind of considered, but even then, I bet violence in Brown's last fight against what's his face, Shahbazyan Nurdinbeke.
Yeah.
And
speaking of that, I mean, we got the whole Kraus gym situation, the whole Glory situation. So I'm pretty sure we have coming out of, what is that, like West Side out there where Bryce Mitchell trains. I think that might be the coaching staff that's going to be with TJ Brown on this card. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, he talked about doing some cross training at Glory as well. So he's been at Glory, here and there. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Dick saying I can see the first few fights not going the distance. Yeah, me too, especially with that Silva fight that was on the card earlier. Got Jen in the chat as well. Probaholic saying I bet on TJ Brown at -105. God help me.
That's how I feel. I feel the same way for sure, but just going with the experience here.
I feel it. All right. We'll see what happens on that one, but it's not one I am invested in. But you got to bet on Brown. I'll be rooting for you, man. All right. We have a very good fight. I cannot wait for this fight. I think this is it's a crime that it's on the early prelims, honestly. We have Billy Quarantillo going against Alexander Hernandez. Obviously, Hernandez cut down to 145. We wanted to see him on the scales, and I think he passed the eye test. The guy looked incredible. What do you like on this fight?
Yeah, second money line, Billy Q. I told you I was money line heavy on this one. So I got Billy Q here. I mean, it's just a perfect fighter to bet on, a guy who's going to fight for your dollar. Been very, very tough so far and manages to sometimes, he looks like he's going to be put out early, but he steamrolls opponents going late. I think at this weight class at 145, he holds the record for most significant strikes landed per minute. Love that. It's over a decent sample size. And then you've got the red flag of Hernandez, big power puncher, but will that power translate coming down for the first time in the UFC at 145? We'll see. I'm not the type of gambler to bet on one punch, knockout, or bust fighters. We've seen Hernandez fade going late. Quarantillo, I like him to get a round 3 stoppage here. I wouldn't mind that prop on round 3 either, if anybody has that one.
Round 3, Quarantillo. What money line price did you get him at?
Minus 160.
Minus 160. He's around there. Minus 163 right now. Yeah, I'm with you. I like Billy as well. I see this fight playing out one of two ways. I think if Hernandez does win this fight, it's going to be probably a first-round knockout. Billy is pretty hittable, 40% striking defense. Hernandez has a handful of first-round knockouts. So Quarantillo is a tough guy, but he is going to get hit here. I just think if the fight gets extended at all, a couple minutes in after the first round, I think Billy's just going to take over. And the thing is with Hernandez, we've seen him broken not once, not twice, but 3 times. We saw him broken against Donald Cerrone. We saw him broken against Drew Dober. We saw him broken just recently against Renato Moicano. And what does Billy like to do? He likes to break people. He likes to pressure. He likes to throw that incredible volume. So yeah, I like Billy to get it done in the second and third round. I don't mind those second or third round props. Just curious to see what they are. Quarantillo round 2, like plus 750. Quarantillo round 3, like plus 1100. Somebody in the chat said Hernandez first round KO. I think that's honestly his path to victory. It's like a plus 1,000. For me, I may sound a little bit repetitive, but again, I like violence here. I like the fight doesn't get decision. I like the under 2.5. It's still plus money there on FanDuel Sportsbook, plus 204. The reason being, like I said, I think if Hernandez does win, he catches Billy early. If not, I think he gets drowned here. And, Hernandez has been finished 3 times in the UFC, all 3 in the second round. So I'm kind of thinking maybe a second round finish here for Quarantillo, but if not second, then I think it's the third.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, I've got all the great props on, or the great statistics on, like Billy Q's significant strikes per minute, but he also has some terrible, striking defense too. So that matches with the strength of Hernandez here. So I like the violent spot as well. Just something about Billy Q. I just feel like he's so tough. He could just power right through this fight, and we'll see. It's a big red flag for Hernandez for me with that new weight class. We'll see how it goes. Some guys make that jump extremely well. You don't even notice. Some guys, it's a big mistake, right?
Yeah, Billy's one of those guys that he tires out his opponents by letting them hit him in the face, and I love it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Great
strategy.
It is a lot of the times, but Probaholic saying got the under 2.5 at plus 165. Incredible line there.
That is great.
JR saying like Hernandez, don't sleep on him. Seems like everyone is. Yeah, I don't see a ton of people on Hernandez, so we'll see what happens, man. Buffo saying nice. Yes, sir. All right, let us keep moving on. We have Chris Curtis going against Joaquin Buckley. And I think this is a close fight. I don't know about you, but I just don't understand this line. Like I see this being on the feet for 15 minutes. I think both guys have very good power. I think both guys are very good strikers. But I guess what kind of separates Curtis from Buckley, for me at least, is the durability. We have one guy who's extremely durable in Chris Curtis. The guy has 38 fights. He's only been knocked out once. Then we have a guy in Joaquin Buckley who's been knocked out several times. He's been dropped several times. So I kind of trust the durability here of Curtis, the cardio, the volume. But at the very least, I think it's going to be a close fight. I mean, unless Buckley knocks him out, which, again, it's very tough to knock out Chris Curtis. And it's very tough to take him down nowadays. So I don't see Buckley having success with the wrestling. So I'm taking the dog shot on Chris Curtis here. I got him at plus 145. He's currently plus 146. I just think it's going to be a close one here. What do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a fun fight. One of my more anticipated fights of the night, honestly. I'm on the dog here. Chris Curtis at dog odds. He's come through for us as a dog before. And he's got the experience in this fight. A little bit older, but the guy, like you said, so durable over a long career. And the only time he's ever been knocked out was against Ray Cooper in that gauntlet-style tournament matchup a few years ago where he had to face Magomed Karimov first and then take on Ray Cooper after. So that was the one time he's been put out. But this is a spot where I think we're getting a nice number on, Chris Curtis here, because he had that short notice overseas fight against Jack Hermanson where he got double or tripled up on strikes, could not find the range, could not get in range to get Jack Hermanson, and now we're getting a discount on him once again. So give me Chris Curtis at dog odds. I do have a play on him. Joaquin Buckley always has that flash KO power, but I think he's been facing a lot of guys where they tire out before he does. But Buckley, I don't think his cardio is nearly as elite as Chris Curtis. So throwing for a long period of time, this is almost like the last fight in a way where I think Chris Curtis can be dangerous very late in this fight, just as well as early.
Yeah, all good points. We're on the same exact side there. And it's kind of weird because there is a lot of hype on Chris Curtis. People were very, very high on this guy. And it seems like everybody jumped off the Chris Curtis train after his last fight against Jack Hermanson. But I'm jumping on it this week. I'm hoping at the very least it's going to be a close fight. But I can see Curtis potentially knocking out Buckley. Like Alessio Di Chirico got him out of there, and he's been knocked down a ton. So and Curtis has great power. So yeah, I am liking Curtis here. The money line doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, and we saw Chris Curtis in his debut on short notice against Phil Hawes, who's a very explosive, dynamic fighter, early on, and Chris Curtis was able to counter that and pass that test in round 1. So it's going to be fun to see him against a fellow striker now in Joaquin Buckley.
Absolutely. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. So did you see at the ceremony weigh-ins, like Buckley, like he's super emotional?
No, I didn't see it. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Like he was all up in Chris Curtis's face, and Curtis was like, "Are you good? Like what's going on?" So
what's funny, Brady, is back maybe like 2 years ago when Buckley was getting all those highlight reel props for his nasty knockout of Impa Kasangane. Then James Krause came out and was like calling him an asshole, saying Buckley's been kicked out of like every gym he trains at. And remember that like whole beef between Krause and Buckley? Yeah. It seemed like James Krause, everybody was on his side in that one. Boy, how the times have changed just 2 years later.
Times have definitely changed. Let's see if I miss anything in the chat. What is up, UFC Captain? How you doing? Martin saying Chris Curtis money line to the moon. I hope so, man. Probaholic saying Curtis decision only, and I have Curtis second round and third round. I could see those late props for sure. And then Youth on the Curtis money line. Yeah, let's cash it. All right. We'll move on to the next fight. We have Edmund Shahbazyan going against Dolce Longambola. Edmund, one of the biggest favorites on the card here. And this just feels like a fight where he should smash. I mean, I think the UFC is doing him a huge favor. Like, this is a massive step down in competition for Shahbazyan, who's fought guys like, Derek Brunson, guys like Imavov, to a guy like Dolce, who's 1-4 in his last 5 fights with wins over guys like Daquan Townsend. So I think they're doing a huge favor for Shahbazyan here. And there's no reason he shouldn't go out there and make quick work of Dolce. So I'm going to take the inside the distance for Shahbazyan. It's about a pick, a -110 there. I see a +100, but there's no reason he shouldn't be able to finish, Dolce, who's been knocked out twice. He's been submitted twice. Edmund has a ton of power. Edmund has multiple first-round finishes. I think Edmund's finished all but one of his wins. He should go out here and starch Dolce, honestly. If he doesn't starch him, it could be in the second and third. I know Edmund's cardio is very bad, but Dolce has some of the worst cardio in the UFC. So I think it's Edmund all day. And it's weird saying all day because how can you trust Edmund Shahbazyan? But, I mean, it's just such a massive step down in competition. So give me Shahbazyan inside the distance. Am I betting the money line? No. But I think he does finish here. And at a pick'em, I don't mind that. What are you looking at here?
I agree with you. I like that prop a lot. I mean, it's just gross seeing such a huge money line, 3-1 favorite for Shahbazyan when both of these guys are on 3-fight losing streaks, but obviously 3 totally different types of losing streaks, right? But they're both choke artists. So anything you can get that the fight doesn't go to decision or you chop down that money line of Edmund by playing him inside the distance, I do like that quite a bit. Even one of these guys is going to fall. If this does not end in round 1, one of these guys will fall apart in round 2. So they've done it time and time again. I'll take Shahbazyan, a whole decade younger, of course, much better level of competition so far. He's got a better skill set, but my God, he's really got to prove to us that he deserves to be a -300 and some favorite in this one. That's just a gross money line.
Yeah, I wish there was a prop like fight to end via exhaustion, because if there was a prop like that, I'd have to take it. Because
you got to get the paddles, the defibrillator out in between, rounds 1 and rounds 2 and wake one of these guys up off the canvas.
They are going to be exhausted if this fight gets out of round 1, which I think it finishes in round 1 personally. But if it gets out of round 1, it's probably going to get ugly. But I still think Edmund has better cardio than Dolce just because everybody has better cardio than Dolce. I mean, it's bad.
Even if Dolce tries to like grapple it all, take this fight to the mat, that's when he really gasses himself out, it seems, when he even tries to employ the wrestling, does any type of clinching on the cage, the guy is just pouring sweat out of those big jacked muscles and he's just done. So it'll be a fun fight to see how this does end. What do you think about the durability of Dolce in this fight?
I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good at all. So I think Edmund should go out there and easy first round. But
yeah, you're right. And Edmund Shahbazyan, that's his condition, right? Like you said, 9 knockouts out of 11 wins, 1 submission on there too. Rarely ever going to decision, even in the best of times. So I think he gets his hand raised.
Yep. And then Glint saying violence. Yeah, I think it's safer. It's chalkier, obviously, -225. But I think violence covers both sides because if Dolce does win, he has power. You can probably catch Edmund, but I think Edmund gets it done here. Probaholic saying fight to end in KO -139. Dan saying a Dolce champion has been training his grappling with Blood Diamond. Oh my goodness, I don't know about that.
No.
We got Victor in the chat. What is up, Victor? Propaholic saying, imagine Dolce wins by Twister. That would be a sight to see for sure. All right, so we'll keep moving on. We have Chris Daukaus going against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I'll let you kick this one off. What are you liking in this heavyweight fight?
I mean, kind of what we just mentioned in the previous fight, right? There's kind of a theme to this fight. It's not going to decision. I mean, Chris Daukaus, he can beat those lower level heavyweights, right? He had kind of a good streak going in. He was like on a 4-fight win streak, but now he's coming into that top level of the top 10 heavyweights, right? Where he goes up against Derek Lewis. Not the best cardio, but he's got all types of power. And Chris Daukaus is just not fast enough to go in range, out of range, without slipping up at some point in the fight. So I think Rozenstruik does knock him out here, but I'm not sure why I'm, a little bit hesitant to lay down a money line on Rozenstruik. It's just because sometimes if you don't engage him, he'll do nothing, and you can leg kick him from the outside. You could potentially pot shot from the outside and stay out of his power range, but I just don't think Chris Daukaus is that guy. Chris Daukaus usually finds a way to just get caught being sloppy, when he's in the middle of a combination. So I see Chris Daukaus with early success in round 1, maybe even early round 2. But at some point, Rozenstruik will counter heavily and put his lights out. I don't rate the durability of Daukaus as all that much, but no action on this fight for me. If you could find Rozenstruik by knockout at closer to even money, I think that's minus 110 or something like that. I wouldn't mind that, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of either of these guys, and Rozenstruik, he can be Jairzinho Rozenstruik at times and, just not do anything. So I don't know. I'm staying off of this fight. I got a weird feeling about it. How about you?
In terms of picking a winner, it's kind of a tough one, but I agree with you theory saying under. I'm just going to take the under 1.5 around the minus 160 range here. Because I think if Daukaus is going to have any success at all, he needs to get on the inside. He's not going to stay at range with Jairzinho. If he does that, he's going to lose. But for him to have success, he needs to get on the inside and land right, which with doing that, he's going to put himself into danger. His striking defense is not good. His chin is not good. I mean, Blades is a great fighter. I'm a big Blades fan, but he's not some murderous power puncher, whereas Jairzinho, he is a murderous power puncher. And, Daukaus knocked out in back-to-back losses. I think Rozenstruik does catch him here, and I think Daukaus is going to put himself in the fire. And with doing that, it's heavyweight, and he can catch Rozenstruik here, but I think he's going to leave himself open to being hit, and being hit very, very, very hard. I mean, Rozenstruik's power is no joke. So I kind of like Rozenstruik to knock him out in the first round. I mean, I struggle to see this getting too extended just because I don't know what that looks like. I mean, are they going to stare at each other for 15 minutes? Maybe. But Daukaus just doesn't strike me as that type of fighter. He's never been over 1.5 rounds yet in the UFC. So I'm kind of liking an early finish here either side, but I do more so lean towards Rozenstruik to get it done. But yeah, in terms of laying like the money line on him, I can't do that because he just doesn't throw anything at times. But I will say
that's so frightening to have money on him to knock somebody out and he just stands there. Now, when he does wake up is when he does, if he lands that nice flush counter strike, then he's all action. He swarms. He smells blood, and he's a very active fighter. That's super accurate when he blitzes in. But until you hit him and kick the beehive of Rozenstruik, he's not doing anything. But do you agree though? Chris Daukaus, like you said, he has to get on the inside, do some work, but he's not fast enough to get back out of danger. He gets caught. His footwork isn't all that great. He's just not a fast guy. I think he will get his lights put out here. It's just a matter of when. And playing the under 1.5. Man, I'll be clenching my butt cheeks the whole time if they just respect each other's power and that it goes over 7.5 minutes. So I'm staying off of it, but it'll be a fun fight to watch.
It'll be a good one for sure. Sophie liking Rosen. Ben saying Rozenstruik round 2. KO is my gut feeling. There you go. Propaholic saying under 1.5 minus 135. I'd be a little shocked if this went over. We got Luke Betcha, our guy in the building, saying you guys have been prattling on like scousers for 20 minutes and no Dr. Ball shots. What kind of content is this, Brady? Maybe he's right. Patrick, do you have any yam bags that are sticking out? We got to do this for Lou.
Oh man, I feel like in this fight it might be a possibility here. It might be some really frantic, inside leg kicks from Chris Daukaus trying to keep Rozenstruik at bay, and then he just hits Rozenstruik square in the yams. I could see that happening. Maybe that's what wakes up Rozenstruik here, gets him angry, gets him to push the pace at the end of round 1. If this could happen, right? Can you see a big inside leg kick from Daukaus just going square in the balls, square in the yams of Rozenstruik?
All right, the yam bag shot, you called it. Chris Daukaus, Rozenstruik. Yeah. For me, I typically like going with like the most ridiculous fight on the card. And there really isn't one of those this week. But how about the most ridiculous fighter? And that's going to be TJ Brown. I'm going to go Eric Silva, TJ Brown, nut shots, cage grabs. Give me some yam bags in that fight.
Oh my God. I can see that potentially ending that fight too, you know?
Yes. Let's see what else we got in the chat. Rozenstruik KO. I think a lot of people are on that Rozenstruik side. All right. But yeah, it looks like we are both on Rozenstruik and I'm on the under. All right. Next, we have a very intriguing fight. We have the 18-year-old Rosas Jr. going against Jay Perrin. Patrick, you liking anything on this fight here? The feature prelim, I believe.
You know, I don't have any action in this one. I like Rosas Jr. to get the job done here, but the money line a little bit too steep for me. You know, what is it? Where are we still sitting at? Around like the minus 235, minus 250 for Rosas Jr. I don't know. The only thing that I do have on this fight is I have once again a couple of 0.1 unit sprinkles on Jay Perrin by TKO in round 2 and round 3, which is plus 2,800 and plus 3,500 respectively. Just fading the sub potential for Rosas Jr. If Jay Perrin could come in here, really prove that he's not going to be taken out by a teenager, and he's got the better striking. We know that. You know, that is the one thing that we do know about this fight. Unless there's been some drastic improvements to Rosas's boxing in this fight, I think that's where Perrin shines. He comes from a boxing family. He's always got that striking. He's actually very strong in the clinch too, as Jay Perrin. But I do think Rosas should get the job done, even at 18 years old. His one skill set, being a whiz in the jiu-jitsu realm, way better than any one of Jay Perrin's like general range of skills, in my opinion. So I'm taking Rosas Jr. as a pick, but just those 0.1 sprinkles on round 2, round 3, TKO for Jay Perrin to get the job done here.
Yeah, those prop sprinkles for Perrin are juicy. Plus,
very juicy
for round 3, plus 3,100 for round 2. So yeah, for me, I got to take the dog shot here on Perrin. I'm with you. I think Rosas should win this fight, but at the end of the day, you take a look at the money line. You minus 235 on a contender series guy, 18 years old, fighting on a big pay-per-view, a guy that's fought nobody. I mean, some of the worst level of competition. He looks great. It's just he's fought nobody. He's had no resistance. He's battled no adversity. And I know Jay Perrin's not the best fighter in the world, but he does some good things that I think will give Rosas Jr. some problems. Like his cardio is phenomenal. He's not going to gas out. The guy's takedown defense is great. His get-up game is great. He's training with Rob daily. So you know that's going to be on point. So it's just kind of a questions answered type bet for me. I'll take the plus 200 on Jay Perrin here because it's going to be Rosas Jr.'s first test ever. So we'll see if he passes it. I do lean towards him probably winning, but at minus 235, 18-year-old making his debut.
Value is all on Perrin in this one. The value side for sure, where the money line's at.
Yeah, I'm taking the value side here and seeing what happens. I could see, what if Rosas, gasses out? Perrin is hard to take down and hold down, and Rosas has shown no striking. Like, went back and watched all of his fights. I've seen maybe 15 seconds, if that, of the striking, and what I saw was not great. So yeah, Jay Perrin's not the best fighter. I see people crapping on him, and I get it, but it's going to be a test. It's going to be a true test for Rosas Jr.
Yeah, this kid might be a genetic freak at 18 years old. I mean, clearly already he is just to make it to this level, but he might be one of those freaks where the age doesn't matter. He's just got that positional awareness on the ground. He just has that knack of that balance and things like that. His striking is going to be the difference maker, right? You can't be one-dimensional at this level. What we have seen on the feet, he jabs his way into range pretty well, closes the distance, and he's so fast at shooting the takedown. The striking difference might not matter in this fight, but as it goes late, that's why I like those late round props, because it might matter when the gas tank is involved.
Absolutely. I'm curious to see what happens there. SK saying all in on Jay Perrin. Yeah, I'm pretty small, like a half unit, just to see what happens. Okay. Rosas Jr. by sub. I don't know. Would you lean like a sub for Rosas, or would you lean like a blanketing decision? Like, what would you lean?
That's tough, right? Because the one time he had like that step up on the contender series, compared to the rest of his record, he had to get the job done by decision. So I don't know. If I was to have any lean on this, I would just pay the price tag on him, honestly, like the money line. I wouldn't want to pick a side.
Yeah.
But he's not the most active ground and pounder either. So if you had that double chance of submission or decision, maybe that's a way to chop down the money line and then just hope he doesn't get a TKO stoppage, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's probably a good call.
I'm not sure where that's at, but I know FanDuel usually has that. Sometimes Bovada has those as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good way to kind of get the price down. Adam saying the Crimson Chin. There you go. Papa Chuck saying I like Perrin. Propaholic liking the violence. Dan saying, I'm not touching this fight. I think they're building Vernon Jandiroba's Jr. up here, but I can't have no part of this apart from jokes. Yeah, I don't blame anybody from staying away.
Man, this kid's got to have thick skin, man. 18 years old on the world stage here, and everybody's picking apart his appearance, man. They're calling him like Jay Leno. I'm seeing in the chat. Like, this is oof.
People are having a field day with him. It looks
when is he going to start getting his performance bonuses and start using that on like cosmetic surgery just because of all this shit he's getting on Twitter?
Yeah, it's he's been getting it, which is kind of crazy for an 18-year-old, right? But yeah, we'll see. Lots of pressure on this guy. All right, Rosas all day, over 1.5. Let's see. Sub looks it. You look in the sub there. We got 2 cents in the chat. We got Mills in the chat. What is up, guys? All right, let us keep moving on. Before we do so, about 300 of you in here. If you guys can all please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Go subscribe to Patrick Addicted to Combat on YouTube. Go check him out on Twitter as well. He does great work over there. But we are about to get to the main card here, and we are starting with a. I'm interested in this fight, man. Darren Till, he's taken a. The guy used to be has so much hype. Like I remember the Masvidal fight, and he had so much hype. He was a pretty big favorite going to that Masvidal fight, and it seems like since that Masvidal fight, since the Woodley fight, this guy's lost hype. He's lost confidence. He looks like a completely different fighter in a bad way, which is weird to say. He's only 29 years old, but he just doesn't look like the same Till. I don't see the confidence anymore. And even at like the ceremonial weigh-ins, he's, acting weird, not looking at Duplessis in the face. He's like turning towards the crowd. Like, I don't know what's going on with Till nowadays. But yeah, for me, I think Till's so live here. I can't trust the guy. Dricus is a guy that he's kill or be killed. He's went to decision once, and that's kind of why I do like the violence here. It has been hit a little bit throughout the week, but the under 2.5 still minus 150, minus 145. I'm going to go with that just because Dricus, I feel like he could finish Till anywhere the fight goes. I think Dricus has a lot of power. I think he has a really good submission game. We've seen Darren Till submitted by Tyron Woodley. We've saw him submitted easily by Derek Brunson. And I think if Dricus does get the fight down to the mat, the sub will be live. And like I said, on the feet, like Dricus can crack it. He can hit very hard. And I'm curious to see where Till's head's at, what his motivation is. So I like that. And then on the flip side, Dricus leaves a ton of openings. The guy's very hittable. He has been knocked out before, and it would not completely shock me if Till went out here and pulled off the upset and won by knockout. So I'm going violence here once again. Give me the under 2.5, minus 150. The pick for me is going to be Dricus, but I have a weird feeling about this fight. I'm really curious to hear your take on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you're right when you started this off with Darren Till is really a different athlete. But is he, though? I mean, he's always been a low-volume guy. He had that streak where he was unbeaten besides that one draw against Dalby. And that was during a time in the welterweight division. There was a tumultuous power struggle of who was next in line for the belt. It kept changing hands after GSP left, right? And you got to a spot where Tyron Woodley ended up having the belt. Darren Till was a guy who had the best record to challenge for it. And he landed one strike in the fight against Tyron Woodley, one strike, and I don't think that was deemed significant. So the guy's never been that much of an active striker. He's just looking to counter, and his counters are pretty accurate, right? But that is an issue here against Dricus Du Plessis. But Du Plessis, it's strange that he's 28 years old, only 1 year younger than Darren Till, because as far as fight miles go in this game, he's got way less than Darren Till, right? Darren Till, momentum's going way down, Dricus going way up. I've got Dricus Du Plessis here. I'm pretty heavy on his money line, which I got at minus 145. So
okay.
I would bet that all the way up to minus 190 to minus 200. I'd be comfortable. You're getting a guy who finished all 16 of his wins, and now in his last fight, the biggest one of his career, he actually goes in there, digs deep, and gets a decision win over Brad Tavares after some early adversity, right? He got cracked pretty hard a couple of times, had to get his head back in the game and win rounds 2 and rounds 3, even after all of his takedown attempts were stuffed. So I see a guy in Dricus who's the more active striker. He's got the power to end the fight. He can take it to the ground, get a club and sub victory, or go to decision and dig deep. I've never once seen Darren Till really dig deep and use his striking output or change styles in between rounds, So as far as adapting to the situation, give me Dricus Du Plessis all day. I think he's got this one. Aside from, like you said, the power counter strike of Darren Till, that straight left hand cracking Dricus, putting him out. Aside from that, I don't think he gets the job done. So, yeah, give me Dricus here.
All right, you're on Dricus there. Yeah, I agree. I think he should go out there and beat Till. So we'll see what happens there. Till looks like he's 35. Yeah, it's weird. He's only 29 years old.
Is that wild? He's had such a long career for only. I mean, you got to give him props. He accomplished a lot. Had a lot of pro fights that went his way early on. But yeah, I don't know if it's not many fighters in history have had 2 primes before. There's only maybe I can count maybe 10, that have had 2 primes.
Yeah, I know Masvidal was like whatever. Then he took a little bit of a break and he came back and he looked better than ever at like 35, something like that. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, he'll live a long career here. He can still always go to the UFC London cards and have the whole crowd chanting his name. I like Darren Till a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I just really questioned his motivation at this point. So we'll see. Till is getting knocked out, no questions asked. Doesn't go the distance. KO round 2. I like the no distance. I think it's solid. DXJC saying Drikas is definitely sloppy enough to run right into some Till counters. Striking all depends on what version of Till gets in there. Yeah, the problem with Till is he doesn't throw anything. So yes, Drikas is going to be open to being hit, but I mean the volume is some of the worst volume you'll ever see.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I keep on drawing conclusions and comparisons to fighters that are strange in this card, but it's almost like what I broke down with Rozenstruik, right? Like he's very low volume, but when he does land that one clean counter strike, he swarms and pretty accurately. And so does Darren Till. When he does swarm, all of those counter, like if he wobbles Drikas in this spot, every single consecutive strike from Darren Till will probably land, until he gets the job done. So he is very accurate when he does decide to strike.
Yep. Kieran predicting a Darren Till round 1. Barack saying, could we see Till wrestle? I think that'd be a pretty big mistake. Because Drikas is very good on the mat. We haven't seen it a ton yet in the UFC, but he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's a savage over there in the EFC.
Absolutely. All right, so should be a fun fight there. Now we are going to go all the way down on best fight odds because they put the Bryce Mitchell-Topuria fight in the future events. We found it. We have Bryce Mitchell going against Ilia Topuria. This is probably the highest debated fight on the entire card, and rightfully so. This is the best fight on the card, in my opinion. I mean, I think this fight makes the whole pay-per-view. I'm really looking forward to watching it. The problem with me is I don't have a good read on it. Like, I could see this fight going either way. I've been kind of flipping back and forth all week, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. What is your best bet for this fight? It's a phenomenal fight. I'm high on both guys. Both guys undefeated. Who do you think gets it done?
I'm on the money line of Ilia Topuria in this one, and this is a money line. I'm not going to lie to anybody here. I do sort of regret putting it in because, man, you got 2 undefeated prospects here, both in their prime, still improving. 15-0 for Bryce Mitchell, 12-0 for Topuria. That is kind of like a forgotten thing. It's 2 undefeated guys going at it in the UFC. Usually they have at least 1 professional loss coming in at this point. The competition's so tough these days, but man, it's a big question mark. But after hours of tape on both guys' career, analyzing things, it really came down to the fact that just more paths to victory for Topuria. I know he can grapple. I don't know if he's as strong or as positionally aware as Bryce Mitchell. The cardio is kind of on the table for both guys as well. Both guys proven to go the distance. I mean, Bryce Mitchell a lot more often than Topuria, but it's that power of Topuria. He can strike. He's not going to be afraid to strike, right? He's not going to be afraid to grapple. No arena of this match will, Topuria really have too much of a disadvantage. So I think he can keep it competitive in all areas, whereas Bryce Mitchell has to get this fight to the mat to be competitive. So at the minus 140 price tag, give me Topuria. I'm not that invested, just 1.4 units to win 1 here, but it's going to be a fun fight. This could have been a headlining fight night card for sure, somewhere early 2023.
Easily. Yeah, I don't know. In terms of like a best bet, like I'm not betting on this fight. It's one of those fights where I'm just going to sit back and watch and just enjoy it because I like both guys. I think both guys are extremely skilled. Topuria is a guy that I've always been on, from the jump. He came in as a dog against Yusuf Zalal, bet on him then. I think I've bet on him pretty much every single fight since then. And Bryce Mitchell's been the opposite. This is a guy that I've been counting out, picking against, betting against fight after fight, getting wrong. So, then I've started to kind of like the guy. I think the guy's made a ton of improvements throughout his career. So we're going to see how this fight plays out. Obviously, you favor the striking of Topuria, has a ton of power. Curious to see who has success in the wrestling and the grappling, see who's able to get the either guy down. In terms of making a best bet, I'm going to go with the finish only was kind of something that stuck out for Topuria, just because I don't see Bryce Mitchell finishing Topuria. And I think if there is a finish in this fight, it is way more likely that it's going to be on the Topuria side. Topuria is a black belt. Yeah, black belt and BJJ, has a ton of power. I mean, Bryce Mitchell's not knocking this guy out. I don't think Bryce Mitchell's subbing Topuria as well. I think if Bryce Mitchell was to win, it would be, control time, kind of grind out a decision down the stretch. And if Topuria does win, I could see, a knockout. I could see like a club and sub. The guy's very dangerous. So that's kind of how I'm attacking it. If I was to, it would be that finish only, minus 210. It opened up actually minus 175. Would have loved that line, but minus 210 for the scorecards, no action. I think that's how I would look if I was to play this one.
I like that a lot because you've got Bryce Mitchell. Like I said, most of his wins in the UFC by decision. He's usually grounding out people that are not quite on the level of Topuria either. So I like that spot. I think you're right. If somebody's going to finish this fight, more than likely it's Ilia Topuria. And what do you think about the striking of Bryce Mitchell? I know we saw a little bit of it against Edson Barbosa, who's an elite striker, one of my favorite guys ever. But was it because Barbosa was so scared of the takedown threat that he did not see that strike that dropped him coming? Or do you think that that was an improvement in Bryce Mitchell's game and foreshadowing some good striking here? What do you think about that?
Probably could have been like a little bit of both, right? Like I think Mitchell has improved in the striking, but yeah, you're right. Barbosa was not expecting him to go out there and strike with him at all. He expected him to take him down right away, like he always does.
And that was strategic matchmaking because, time and time again, against elite guys, don't get me wrong, Barbosa does struggle against those grapplers, right? Anytime somebody can sit him down on his back on the mat, he's usually going to lose that fight more likely than not. But that was impressive for sure. That proved a lot because Barbosa, big veteran of the game, dangerous guy, and Bryce Mitchell passed that test. So this is the money line on Topuria, where I do actually wish I didn't have it on at this point because I want to sit back and just learn about these guys. But I don't know. If you just walk into any sports book and see plus 125 on Bryce Mitchell and not know who they're fighting, you'd lay everything on that. Plus money on Bryce Mitchell, awesome. But then likewise, you see that price tag of minus 140, 150 on Topuria. Finally, he's not like a minus 550 favorite. You'd put everything on that as well. So a tough matchup, and I can't wait to watch this one.
Yeah, my favorite fight on the card. It's the people's main event. I'm looking more forward to this than the actual main event, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, we get to find out if the earth is flat, depending on who wins this fight.
Absolutely. Let's see here. DXJC saying Ilia Topuria is out overhyped. A strong gust of wind does the same thing to Jai Herbert. But he knocked out Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson is he's durable somewhat, but yeah.
Man, the durability of that Jai Herbert fight, though, that proved a lot for Topuria. I cannot believe he ate some of those strikes early on in that fight. I thought I was about to lose everything on that.
Yeah, for sure. 1D Ammo saying Topuria sprawl and brawl. That's what he's going to try to do here. The American Habib, yes, he is for sure. Topuria isn't focused, talking shit to Patty in the press conference, not even focused on Bright. That's who he is, though. He's always like that. He's talking crap and stuff, and he's done well. So we'll see. But we'll keep moving on. We have 3 fights left. This is probably my least favorite fight on the card, which is kind of weird to say considering it's on the pay-per-view. But we have Santiago Ponzinibbio going against Alex Morono. Really wanted to see that the Robbie Lawler Ponzinibbio fight. Not the biggest fan of Morono here. In terms of this fight, for a best bet, I don't have a bet on this fight or nothing, but my best bet will be the over 2.5 here, minus 160. I know it's weird hearing me talk about an over. I've been unders all night, but it's just one of those fights where I know Morono's coming in on short notice, but he's just typically very durable. Both guys very, very durable. I kind of see it being close competitive with Ponzinibbio getting the better of the striking exchanges across 3 rounds. I think Ponzinibbio does win by decision. But you kind of like the over here, minus 160. Don't mind the fight goes decision, minus 130. Probably would be a little bit of a split just because they're going to be standing and banging for 15 minutes, but I do trust the durability of both guys. So over 2.5, fight goes to decision, but not a fight that I'm invested in really at all. Anything for you here?
No, I would have said the same thing. Over 2.5, right around that minus 160-ish mark. I like that for this fight. And when this fight was announced and there were no lines for it this week, I was really hoping that they would disrespect Morono and get a much bigger plus number on him, like a plus 240 or something like that. They had that minus 400 next to Ponzinibbio's name for Robbie Lawler. I was hoping they would just say, it's easier just to keep that there. Let's just make the same line for this fight, but no such luck. I do like Morono, and I am more excited about this fight than you seem to be. Morono's just always, he cashes the dog for me against Semmelsberger last time out. He's got, on his best nights when he's on point for 15 minutes, his counter striking is so basic, just 1, 2, 3 combos, but they land and he can get out of range every time. But man, Ponzinibbio, even at this age of 36, even after that long 3-year layoff with the health injuries and all that stuff, I mean, the guy is still slick. He's a much better mover, much faster. And out of the power between these two, Ponzinibbio can put people out. And the better level of competition, too. So I like Ponzinibbio here. The money line, I don't hate at all either, but I'd say the safest thing here is fight goes to decision, both guys. Morono's only been put out, I think, by Nico Price and Chaos Williams, right? I think those are the only 2. I know Pettis almost put him out with that spinning wheel kick, but other than that, the guy's been pretty durable. So the overs I like, but man, yeah, I was hoping to back Morono in this spot if there was a bigger plus number, but just can't do it.
Yeah, it looks like Ponzinibbio opened up like minus 260. So money has came out on Morono since then. And I think there's a lot of reasons to like Ponzinibbio. For one, he's not coming in on short notice. Yeah, I think he does get it done, but yes, just give me the overs if anything.
But is he though? I mean, what are the chances here that Ponzinibbio saw he was fighting an over the hill Robbie Lawler that just got beaten by Brian Barberena? Maybe his prep for this was just sitting on the couch and not doing anything.
Hey, you could be right. He was.
and Morono is on short notice, but this guy just fought Semmelsberger in July, so you got to imagine he was looking for a fight at this point and in shape.
Yeah, it should be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, not my favorite fight in the card, but it should be a good fight.
That should be fun.
Probaholic is on that Pons money line. Eric's saying a Pons decision most likely. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Pons by decision there. I think Pons is the better fighter, but Morono's live. Yeah, he's live. The guy's a dog. He's gonna go out there and fight for your money. Yeah, for sure. Money line or fight doesn't go to decision. I'm kind of leaning the over, but I could see why people would be on that fight doesn't go just because they're going to stand and bang for 15. All right, so 2 fights left here. We have the co-main event. I'm looking forward to this fight as well. I mean, this is probably one of the most talked about fights on the card, and rightfully so. We got Paddy Pimblett, Jared Gordon. Paddy Pimblett minus 240, Jared Gordon plus 205. Yeah, really curious to hear your thoughts on this one. I see a lot of really love both ways, so I'm curious to see which side you line up on.
I don't love either side here, to be honest with you. Like, I am sort of leaning Jared Gordon just because of the implied probability of the line. I think it's a bit off. I think Gordon is a guy who has enough range of skills, seen enough type of opponents here. And, where's Paddy Pimblett's wrestling at? Because Jared Gordon usually employs wrestling to win fights. But if you're a better wrestler than him, like, Grant Dawson or somebody like that, then you can put him on his back. Then you can submit him potentially in the fight as well. I like Jared Gordon here as far as the money line goes, but Paddy Pimblett is just so scrambly. He's just got that way about him where his striking is so unorthodox. He'll start orthodox, then he'll go and switch and strike out of the southpaw stance, back you up against the fence. Then before you know it, your neck is taken. So Jared Gordon has a really bad. I would have taken him as a dog for sure, but he's got that bad habit of giving up his back, and you do not want to do that against Paddy Pimblett. So that's what scares me off of this one, betting wise. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, the obvious one would be Paddy Pimblett inside the distance, scorecards, no action, but we're kind of priced out of that, right? It's like minus 400 or something goofy. I don't know. It's a pass for me on this one. If I do have to make a bet on this one, it'd be Gordon by decision, which you could get from plus 350 to plus 500 even on some books. I like that because I think he does get the job done by decision most likely. But yeah, it's a spot I'm staying away from personally.
Yeah, so this is one of the first fights I researched. I think I researched it like last Friday or Saturday, and I was like, okay, this is the spot I'm looking out for. I'm liking the Paddy Pimblett scorecards, no action, the finish only. Give me it around minus 200. I'm gonna smash it.
And they doubled it.
What did they open it up at? I mean, they opened it up at like something. They opened it up at minus 400. It's now minus 450.
So, that's gross.
I mean, yeah, they're all over it. And then I was like, okay, the other thing I wouldn't mind would be like a Gordon decision only because, Paddy's not really a minute winner. He's losing minutes actually to very bad competition, but he's so dangerous, like you said. And that's why I can't get to the Jared Gordon money line because yes, I think there's value on the guy. I think he can win minutes. I think he can win the striking exchanges. I think he can win minutes on top with the control. It's just, he's been finished 5 times, and Paddy Pimblett, he has power, he has improved his striking, and he's a phenomenal grappler. So, yeah, I think the 2 ways I would play this at this point, it would be the Paddy Pimblett inside the distance around to pick him. It was plus money for a little bit. And then I would look at the Jared Gordon decision only because I think if Jared Gordon wins this fight, I'd be shocked if it was a finish. I mean, I don't really see him finishing Paddy. He doesn't really finish anybody. I think he has maybe one finish in the UFC. But I think if Paddy wins, it is going to be inside the distance. So I would not lay the money line on Paddy. If I was to play him, it would be that inside the distance around to pick him.
No, very true. 6 knockouts, like 9 submissions for Paddy. He has a way of being very explosive, getting you off guard, backing you up against the fence where you have no exit strategy, and then he'll jump all over you and somehow scramble to a dominant position. What bothers me from putting money on Paddy is, of course, how competitive the Jordan Levitt fight was early, right? Like, that's a scary thought. But then, of course, you go back in the tape and watch Jared Gordon. The guy's got good technical boxing early, some good wrestling against certain level of opponents, but gives up his back to get up every time, and that is just scary because Paddy is so slick, so slippery to get on your submission. So, yeah, I don't know. I like your play inside the distance, Paddy Pimblett. If we would have gotten that scorecards equal no action, that would have been the perfect play, but priced out, unfortunately.
Yeah, so and Plymouth inside the distance, Gordon decision only, I think is a great way to play Gordon, or even that Gordon decision at plus 500. I think that's kind of wild. He's not finishing anybody. But yeah, should be a good fight here.
Yeah, I love seeing Paddy Pimblett. This is the first time we're seeing him back in the Las Vegas since his debut against Venturini, I think.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it play out. Urban saying Gordon is a live dog. I can agree with that. Gordon by decision is a great play. I think that's a great way to play it. If you are on the Gordon side, we got Uncle Wheezy. What is up, Wheezy? Saying let's stack him high. I agree. Let us stack him high. Decision only is an even better play. Good pick. Yeah, because if he does get finished, you get your money back. So not the worst look in the world. And then Eric saying Gordon is a tough guy with slightly above average skills, but really Paddy hasn't shown anything spectacular. He's shown great finishing ability, and maybe that's enough here. But yeah, there's like in every single Paddy Pimblett fight, there's something sketchy that happens, like Jordan Levitt taking him down, and Kazula Vargas taking him down. I mean, there's been some sketchy moments.
Yeah, Venturini almost cracking him, wobbling him early on in that fight at the Apex. Oof.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. It's gonna be a good test here. But now it is time for the main event. If you guys have not already, be sure to smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel. Also go subscribe to Patrick Addicted to Combat as well. Show him some love. But we have the main event: Jan Blachowicz going against Magomed Ankalaev. We have money been pouring in on Ankalaev like it was just a couple days ago. I remember the guy was like plus 255. Now he's minus 355, and Blachowicz around plus 290. I see a plus 305. Patrick, what are you on for this main event here?
Yeah, what I'm on for this one is my final money line of the night on Magomed Ankalaev to become the new champion. This guy's been the dark horse of the division for some time now, and he's just got all the skills, man. The overgrown Dagestani, they make him in extra large as well, 6'3", 75-inch reach. He's only 30 years old here, almost 10 years younger than Jan Blachowicz, who, let's be honest, he kind of had a soft rise to his championship for Jan Blachowicz. Magomed Ankalaev, he could be 18-0 if it wasn't for that final second of that Paul Craig fight in his debut. But when you want to talk about being accurate, I mean, that goes to Ankalaev. More defensively sound goes to Ankalaev. More strikes, per minute. More durable if he does get hit. It goes to Ankalaev. I just think this guy has got way more paths to victory. Doesn't always wow us with getting the finishes all the time. You kind of have to engage him if you want him to get that highlight reel finish, like a Ian Kuntalaba or somebody like that. He's confident and completely content to just strike at range for 5 rounds, make it boring. But Jan does like to blitz in with that left hook to the body, the right overhand up top. In one of those exchanges, he could get caught off guard, or he could get level change and taken to his back. So the wrestling would be a clear game plan advantage for Ankalaev. I don't think he's going to actually go that route until things go poorly for him on the feet. So give me Ankalaev. Way more ways to change up this fight over the course of 5 rounds. And if somebody is finish dependent in this fight, I think it's Jan Blachowicz here.
Yep, I'm with you. I like Ankalaev to win. In terms of like a best bet, though, I'm going to actually give the over 2.5 sitting here at minus 135.
Yeah, that's a nice one. I'm looking at that right now.
Yeah, just because I feel like they're not going to do anything like most of the fight. I think like they're just going to feel each other out for a long period of time. I feel like this whole fight could be like a feeling out process where occasionally, Ankalaev mixes and takedowns here or there to win minutes. So yeah, I like the over. It's one of those overs where I feel like I know they're light heavyweights, but there might not be like any sweat on this over just because there's not going to be a lot going on. Obviously, Ankalaev could absolutely finish Blachowicz and vice versa, but I just don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunities. So
you could run the gauntlet of going, like, if you're going the alternate over-unders, you could run that gauntlet of a little bit on, the over 1.5 at like minus 275. You could do a little bit more on the over 2.5, minus 135, and just kind of see how far you can get as far as it becomes plus money after over 3.5, right? So I kind of like that play, and I'll do that from time to time on those 5-rounders.
Yeah, it's not something I love, but yeah, I see it. I see it getting extended. I see it probably even going I mean, I guess Ankalaev could finish him, but I don't know. Blachowicz is tough. I think he's only been finished maybe once by knockout, maybe twice.
Yeah, it's been a while too, and he's had a long career of doing it. But do you agree that Jan Blachowicz is kind of more of the guy who needs to get a finish here? Because I feel like
absolutely
winning by points for that guy would be a very difficult task here. But yeah, he's only been knocked out twice. Thiago Santos was one of those times. He's only been finished by submission a couple times as well, and a lot of those were very early on in his career. Besides that, Glover Teixeira mishap.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm on Ankalaev. I actually don't have any money on this main event. The over was something I was considering. Didn't quite pull the trigger, but I think the over would kind of be the way I would attack this, if at all.
Yeah, just all of the size, just the momentum for Ankalaev here, and just of course more paths to victory. If things go poorly on the feet, he can bail himself out with getting a single leg or a blast double, changing levels, and then he's safe for the next 3 minutes of the fight to stay on top, pitter patter ground strikes to win that round. So this could be a drawn out, boring fight, like you said.
Yep, unfortunate, but yeah, I can see that. What do you think of the same? Do you do the same game parlays on DraftKings where you like parlay the fighters with like a round or like
no? I never have. No,
so he's
Ankalaev and fight starts round 2
yeah.
minus 135. No, not bad at all. You just have to sweat. And both guys are so defensively sound usually, especially knowing that they've got to fight 5 rounds. I think they will take it easy in round 1 and just maintain distance. I like that one a lot for Cole.
It almost seems like cheating. Like it minus 130. It doesn't make like you're taking from minus 155 to minus 135, and all he has to do is get this to round 2.
The way things are going in 2022, you're just hoping that one of the guys doesn't like break his knee or something in round 1.
Yes. That is definitely a concern you have to factor into these fights.
Yeah, that was going into my analysis of this fight. I'm like, at what point will one of these guys? Jan Blachowicz is 39. Been in this for a while at the highest level. Man, I hope he doesn't like Calvin Cater, Tom Aspinall himself at some point. But
I hope not.
With money on Ankalaev, maybe I do hope that happens.
Yeah. Sorry, Brady. Ankalaev is not our new champion. Yeah, I'm not the biggest Ankalaev fan, but I can't deny he's a really good fighter.
It sucks. I know we talked about this backstage, but it sucks that Yuri is not the champion anymore. That guy was my favorite current champion of any weight class right now, and of course he has to hurt himself. I don't even know what happened. Is there yet any disclosure on what the injury was?
It's like a shoulder injury. Dana was saying it was like going to be like exact. A year. I don't know. I forget what he said, but he said like it's going to be a year and a half, something like that.
Yeah, which means he's going to have like a substantial surgery of some type. That's horrible. I wonder how that happened.
Because I was never the biggest Jerry guy, but Jerry's just so much fun to watch. Like he's entertaining, and I like.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like he's just like that true, almost like a purist of martial arts. The guy's got the whole samurai thing going on. Seems like he could have been, back in the UFC, like back in UFC 12 or something like that. Fighting it with those guys that were kind of one-dimensional fighters. Just super exciting. More exciting than an Ankalaev as champion, I tell you that.
Oh yeah, I agree. Rawls saying over 2.5. Urban saying over 3.5. Jamal Hill is coming. Any thoughts about Jamal Hill? I like that guy.
Yeah, he's kind of similar to what we were talking about. Like he does take chances. He is exciting. And how can you not like Jamal Hill after seeing the Paul Craig fight where he was willing to keep going after having his arm flopping around in every which direction? That's hardcore shit, and I like it.
Yes, sir. But yeah, it's going to be a good fight card, 12 fights. Looking forward to it. Patrick, the floor is yours. Let everybody know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week, typically on an MMA content week. And promote your YouTube, your Twitter. You're doing a lot of content on there.
Oh, yeah. Dude, always a pleasure to break down fights with you, Brady. And for you guys who don't know me, my name is Patrick. I run a YouTube called Addicted to Combat. So go over there, give me a subscribe. I do full card breakdowns early in the week on Sundays or Mondays. I have my stream on usually Wednesday nights. This week it'll be on a Tuesday night. I'll be having Manpreet from MMA Lock of the Night for the final card of the year. So I always have rotating guests on that show where we talk props. And then I have my best bets and props video at the end of the week where I go over all of my betting action and additional recommendations there too. So go ahead and give me a subscribe. I'm also on Twitter at Combat Addict 1. Let's talk fights.
There you go. Go check him out. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. My DMs are always open. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, subscribe to the channel. Leave a like. It does go a long, long way. And guys, enjoy the fights tonight. Hopefully we make some money. Hopefully it's a good card. I think it's going to definitely deliver. Best of luck. We'll talk to you guys soon. See you later.
Cheers.